Good morning, great Americans. It's another great American video. This morning is an unscripted sort of streaming consciousness sort of thoughts on just basic good and evil. Because in the end, with all the stuff we see in the news, the madness, the insanity, people embracing just absolutely insane things. There's a story out in the news this morning that Democrats in Maryland are trying to put condoms into schools, including elementary schools and kindergartens, into vending machines with condoms in elementary schools and even kindergarten. So I'll let you stew on that for a minute. But anyway, this is just my morning muse on sort of good and evil, because this is a simple fact. If, as the godless atheists think, if there is no God, then there is no ultimate objective good or evil. Good or evil is whatever you think it is, according to your personal whatever, your feelings, right? But here's the problem with that. Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany thought it was good and okay to do the horrible things they did, killing millions of Jews in ovens. I mean, my God, and killing and millions of other people too, in concentration camps. We talk about Hitler a lot because I think that's probably because for some crazy reason, the Germans were nutty about making documentaries and filming and keeping records, right? So there's lots of films of this stuff, and it's just horrible to see. But the truth is that throughout history, there have been many people just as bad as Hitler. In fact, Mao killed more people in the name of communism than any other leader did, more than Stalin, more than Hitler. But throughout history, there have been all kinds of evil people who do things. So the problem with not having an objective good and evil, not having objective truth as facts, is that you cannot say that those people were bad, because according to their thinking, they were good. Now, of course, we know that they were evil. Of course, Hitler's evil, and Stalin and Mao and communism and Nazism and all that kind of stuff. Anti-Semitism. It's all evil. But there has to be an objective good and evil to begin with, an objective right and wrong. And the problem that we're having in American society today is there are many people who don't have that. They don't know right from wrong. They don't know good from evil. And you can't tell them either. If you try to tell them, if I try to tell a leftist that grooming kids in schools is wrong, putting porn and stuff in elementary schools is wrong, they just shoot back. They'll either call you a liar, they say, oh, you're just a right-wing prophet, blah, blah, blah. But they won't condemn it. Well, of course they won't condemn it. They're the ones doing it. You know, you know, this, this, what do you call it? Gender affirming surgery. That's a wonderful name, isn't it? Gender affirming surgery. Basically, it's cutting the genitals and slicing the breasts off of little children. I can't think of anything more evil than that. But Democrats were okay with it. Joe Biden promoted it. Yes, I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. He stood behind what they called gender affirmation surgery, but what is actually child mutilation, genital mutilation of children and adults too, but the children. So back to what I was saying originally, without any objective good or evil, right or wrong, truth and falsehood, then truth and good and evil is up for grabs. It's whatever you think it is. And that is the fundamental problem we're having in America today because right now, and I'm not trying to say that Republicans are good, and godly, but because everybody, all people have faults and nobody is perfect. However, there is one side of the political spectrum today in America that stands for traditional marriage, traditional. I mean, there's two genders, right? Male and female. And of course, let's not get into the whole. There's a few people who have a medical problem of their gender, and they go through great suffering, and so that's like, but it's rare, like someone with three arms. I mean, there are people there was a guy with three legs. You can Google that, but I mean, how often does that happen? You know, so it's the same thing here. So we're not talking about that, but generally speaking, there's two genders, right? So on one side of the political spectrum, you have people who believe in traditional marriage, two genders, traditional values. Call it Judeo-Christian if you want, but just or whatever. Muslim, Christian, Jewish, don't kill, don't steal, blah 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 blah, right? Uh, uh, being a good neighbor, all that kind of stuff. Traditional values. That's on one side. On the other side, we have what I spoke of a minute ago. This transgen this embracing diseases and trying to say that they're normal, um, because you have no sense of right or wrong. Um, and that's the battle going on today. And I say now, of course, I'm personally Christian, Catholic. I do believe in a higher power. I believe in God, and therefore I believe there is a higher source of what is right and wrong. I don't have to think. I don't have to worry about deciding if some basic things are right and wrong. I know they're right and wrong because right and wrong comes from a higher source. And I also believe that the United States of America was founded. I firmly believe that the founding fathers of the United States of America were not only visionaries, but I think that they were inspired by God. Similar, I don't want to. Somebody's going to take that the wrong way, and don't go too deep into it. But when you listen to the words of the Declaration of Independence, I should have brought it up here before I did this. But when you listen to the words of the Declaration of Independence, it's hard to think that they are not inspired by God, right? I mean, listen to this. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Self-evident, right? In other words, you know things are true just by simply looking at them and observing them, right? It's self-evident. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. And please, all you women out there, don't go there. They meant all people. Just mankind is a word for the human race, and I hate people who get all into that, having to change it around because people's butt hurt over their feelings and stuff. Anyway, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Who in history has ever said that except for us, except for them? Did anybody in history ever say such a thing before the founding fathers of the United States? And I mean politically, I'm not talking in religion, but politically. We're the first. That all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their creator creator with certain unalienable rights. Do you see what this means? Do you understand how inspired, and I believe divinely inspired, those words are? In other words, government doesn't give you your rights. Government doesn't decide what rights you have and don't have. Those come from above. It is the job of government to protect the rights that your creator endowed you with, to protect them against evil people. Your right to live, your right to life. Hello? Your right to have your life without somebody ripping it from you, you know, either as an adult or a babe in the womb. Your right to be alive. Your right to worship God as you understand God. Your right to speak what you think. Say what you want to say. Nobody can tell you what you can't. Ah, wait a minute now. If I see an email signature or I see somebody's profile and it has pronouns in it, let's say I see a dude, a guy, a man profile or email signature, and his profile or email signature says, my pronouns are she and her. You know what they're doing? They are taking away my right to free speech. They are forcing me to embrace their disease and say something I don't want to say. They're trying to force me to call a man a woman. I'm never going to do that. I I speak the truth. If I see a man, call him a man. Hey, you, hey, mister, hey, sir, whatever. Don't you drag me into your diseased fantasy world. And don't you put your pronouns in my face. I have two eyes and I have an intelligent mind, and I don't need anyone to tell me what their pronouns are because I can see if you're a man or a woman. Now, if I'm not sure if you're a man or a woman, if you're one ugly broad, then I might just kind of say your name. I will try to refrain from insulting you accidentally. But that's joking around a little bit. But seriously, don't tell me what to say. I have free speech. But anyway, back to the Declaration of Independence. We are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life. Again, life. That's a word up to you pro-choice people. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. And whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, as our government recently was under Biden, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem the most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe the United States is in a full, complete, 100% civil war right now, except it's a different kind of civil war because it's not bullets and guns. Who knows if that might come, but although they tried to shoot Trump twice, so who knows? I guess maybe there is some bullets involved. But we're in a full-blown civil war between people who believe in what I just read and people who believe in the opposite. They believe that government decides what you can say, and government tells you what you can say, and socialism and globalism and all manner of just stuff that ain't American. Now, I won't name any political party. It doesn't take a genius to figure out which one is on which side. Okay? It doesn't. Okay, so so that's my morning muse. And some of this ties in with some of my previous videos. But basically, if there is not an ultimate source from above for objective truth and objective good and evil, if truth and good and evil is just whatever you and some elected pinheads think it is, then there is no such thing as good. And it's Bedlam. It's Sodom. It's what's that? What was that movie with Mel Gibson? Um, you know what I mean? It's anarchy, basically anarchy. And it's also totalitarianism because that's where it leads, right? That's where it leads. When governments can decide what's right and wrong, and when governments can decide what your rights are, then totalitarianism, fascism, communism, Marxism, authoritarianism, dictatorship, it's all just it's one step away. So but that's the battle we're in. Now, the amazing thing is that in our country, as I said, part of our freedoms are the freedom to worship God as you see fit. Now, of course, that freedom includes not believing in God. If you don't want to believe in God, that's fine. But it does put you at odds with the fundamental foundations of this country, right? Where our rights come from and what our founding documents say. So it's something to consider. We must be ever vigilant. You know, liberty and freedom and the knowledge of what that really means does not just get passed on from generation to generation through the bloodstream. It has to be learned and taught. And frankly, to be honest with you, I think the last few generations of parents have failed miserably because so many people don't understand these simple things that I just said. Kids are lost. Do you realize that there are kids now? You take a kid, say, who's look, Barack Obama was elected in 2008, right? It is now 2025. So let me do a little quick math here. Okay, you've got kids that are like 17 years old. You got kids that are 17 years, well, actually older, because when you're a baby, you don't really ingest this kind of stuff. So you got people who are 17 and older say, at what age do you start to really ingest politics? I don't know. Anyway, you've got people who are in their late 20s who have known nothing their whole lives except these lies and propaganda about socialism, globalism, transgenderism, gay marriage, blah 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 blah. They actually believe this shit. Listen, I'm gonna leave you with. I don't want to drag this out too long because I just thought of something that I want you to leave you with to think about. In Nazi Germany, or I should say, in pre-Nazi Germany, the idea of Aryanism, right, the superiority of the Aryan race was sort of a goofy thing that some people believed in, right, but didn't really didn't really have a lot of traction among the general population. But there was a few nutty people believe, but people didn't really take it seriously, right? When the Nazi Party began in its infancy, when it was very small, at an early point, it brought that belief system into its party. It was part of the party. But again, the party was small and at first was not very influential. And so that belief was just sort of, people just sort of disregarded it. But as the Nazi Party grew stronger and eventually came into power, that belief system came along with it. Right now, believe then, like around, I don't know, what am I going to say, 37, 38, 1937, 938, something like that. Belief in Aryan superiority was a must. And if you didn't believe in it, the Gestapo and the SS looked at you cross-eyed, and you might end up down in a Gestapo station answering some questions, right? But here's more than that. As the Nazi Party reached its zenith of power, that Aryan belief crept into the schools and the colleges and the universities. And the next thing you know, there were textbooks about it, and there were classes about it, and there were professors who taught it. And if you were a university or college or university student in Germany around from 1939 to 1944 or 45, you were taught these things in books, right? You believe it. Hey, man, my professor's teaching it. It's in a book. It's in a class. Of course, Aryan superiority is real, right? Because I learned about it in college, but it wasn't real. It wasn't fact. It was bullshit. It was fake science. It was racist. It was bigotry. It was terrible. But there were a certain time frame of students who were taught it and believed it without a second thought because, hey, it came from the books. It was a class in college. Think about that. And now you think about what I just said a minute ago about the age group of kids in the United States who have grown up thinking that homosexual or same-sex attraction is normal. They have been taught that transgenderism is normal. They have been taught terrible things about United States history, and they have been taught CRT hate and racism in schools, and if that's a fact, and anyone who says it's not a fact is a liar. So CRT classes with the label CRT as a subject are taught in colleges, not in grade school level. This is what they will say. But in fact, the principles and the content, and the sort of belief system inside of CRT has in fact been inserted into every grade school and high school college curriculum. Hell, recently they were trying to say that algebra was racist because only white people knew it. Can you believe such an insanity? I'll put a link to that. That's another link I'll put in the description of this video. So my point is, we now have a generation of people, young adults from ages from 18 up to their late 20s, who learned this stuff in school, just like the German kids learned about Aryan superiority in college and believed it. We have American kids who now believe in this insanity, and you can't tell them they're wrong. I mean, look at it from their point of view. They were brought up with this stuff. They learned it in school. It's all they've ever known their whole life. And now someone like Trump comes along and he says, no, there's only two genders. He brings us back to normality, which people like me understand, right? But these kids who are like 20, 25, they're like, what? What? There's only two genders? What? They're lost in a world of propaganda and lies. Now, what was the purpose for these propaganda? Well, I don't have time in this video. I'll be for another video. I will make part 2. In fact, I'm going to call this part 1 of something. I don't even know what I'm going to call it yet. But we will delve into that. Why did they do that? That will be in the next video. But this video, I'm sort of going off on a tangent a little bit. But suffice to say, what I'm talking about here ties in with what I originally said at the top. And that is when there is no higher power that tells you what's right or wrong, when men and government decide what is right and wrong, this crap that I just said is what you end up with. Kids and generations who don't know right from wrong. I've seen people who, I support trans, I support it. They don't even know what the hell, they don't even know right from wrong. It's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. So anyway, that is the end of part one. Look in the description of the video for the link about Biden supporting mutilating children's genitals, and the link about what I just said, where they try to say that even math is racist. That's part of CRT, getting into math. Math is racist. It's not funny. I shouldn't even be laughing. It's actually pretty terrible. So please like and share my video. And I will see you in part two. Adios, muchachos.